The year 2025 is truly a very special year and is destined to be recorded in history. In May, Russia took the lead. In June, the United States closely followed. In September, China made the final appearance. In just 4 months, the 3 most powerful countries on Earth all held large-scale military parades. This, since the end of World War II, is an extremely rare occurrence. Those who are clear-minded will say it is due to each nation's circumstances, but those who are not might even think that the Trisolarans have begun to invade. So why did the 3 major powers suddenly hold grand parades at the same time? In my personal view, there are mainly 2 reasons. Let's talk about the first reason. Let's take a look at the full names of the China and Russia parades. Russia's Victory Day parade on May 9th was to commemorate the 80-year anniversary of the victory in the Great Patriotic War, and to emphasize the great contribution of the Russian people in the anti-fascist struggle during World War II. China's Grand Parade, to be held on September 3rd, is to commemorate the victory of the War of Resistance against Japan, and the 85th anniversary of the victory of the World Anti-Fascist War. Do you see a clear common point? That is, all emphasize the 4 characters anti-fascist. This is the core theme of this year's parades. I know some people will say, hasn't fascism already disappeared long ago? Why do we still keep emphasizing this again and again? The reason is simple, because fascism has never truly disappeared. It just changed into another form of existence. To figure this matter out, we must first understand the true meaning of fascism. In 1919, in several towns in northern and central Italy, some small paramilitary organizations emerged. They borrowed the Latin word fasci, which symbolized power and order in ancient Rome, as their name. When transliterated, it became 3 characters. Fascism. On this basis, Mussolini founded the Fasci of Combat Party. This became the starting point of the global fascist movement. So why did the fascist movement rise up? And what was their core demand? The answer is, World War I completely destroyed the beautiful world of Europe. 4 old empires, the Russian Empire, the Ottoman Empire, the Habsburg Empire, and the German Empire, all collapsed one after another. On the ruins arose many nationalist states. According to statistics, the total number of deaths during World War I was more than twice the total number of deaths from all major wars since the Napoleonic Wars. At that time in Europe, prices soared. The economy collapsed. Disease spread everywhere. Many countries experienced social collapse with moral decay and the loss of humanity. As the female writer Britain put it, it was a world without a future, without vitality, without meaning. It was in such an environment that the old imperialist powers led by Britain and France still refused to give up their own interests. They, as victors of the war, desperately plundered the national wealth of the defeated countries, causing the common people of the defeated nations to fall into humiliation, anger, and despair. According to historical records, at that time, a loaf of bread in Germany was sold for 500,000 marks. An ordinary German going shopping had to carry a sack of banknotes quickly to the store. If they were a few hours late, the price would directly double. It was in such a context that the fascist movement began to rise worldwide. So what were their demands? Actually, they were very clear. That was to smash the old world order established by Britain, France, and other countries, and recreate a new situation to achieve the goal of saving the common people. In order to achieve this goal, they squeezed the lower classes to the extreme at home, and externally turned on the war machine to plunder wealth. According to historical records, after Hitler came to power, he immediately implemented the policy of guns instead of butter, putting 90% of Germany's industrial capacity into the field of armaments production. Ordinary people's daily consumer goods, such as food and clothing, were strictly rationed, causing the quality of life for German citizens to plummet. Many of their wages not only failed to rise, but even showed a downward trend, while their working hours were extended to an astonishing 60 hours per week. Facing the reality of deteriorating living standards, many Germans at the time raised doubts. But Hitler's fascist party would use nationalist narratives to overwhelm all opposing voices. The general idea was that they would say, Germans must unite to resist the oppression of other nations, using this populism to hijack the people, thus shifting contradictions beyond the borders. This was the basic characteristic of fascism during World War II. With this understood, let us make a simple summary of fascism again. What exactly is fascism? I personally think it has the following major characteristics. First, far-right parties in power with tendencies toward populism and personality cults. Second, revision of history and blind xenophobia, beginning heavy crackdowns on immigrants. Third, using geopolitical conflicts to strengthen nationalism. Fourth, using force in a brutal manner to plunder the wealth of other nations. With these four characteristics understood, let us now look at which countries today show signs of fascism. Let's start with the United States. After Trump was elected for the second time, he became the US president with 3 powers in one. His domestic power in the United States reached its highest peak in nearly 30 years. Moreover, Trump's MAGA party is essentially white supremacy. They gain the support of the American working-class rednecks by emphasizing the principle of whites first. This is, in fact, a form of nationalism. And why was America's Grand Parade in June this year set on June 14th? Besides the reason that this was the anniversary of the founding of the U.S. Army 250 years ago. The bigger reason is that June 14th is also Trump's 79th birthday. The intention of personal worship is very obvious. Now let's look at historical revisionism. In 2020, Americans publicly declared that Nazi Germany was defeated jointly by the United States and the United Kingdom, without mentioning a single word about the Soviet Union, the country that contributed the most. And they even defined the Soviet Union as one of the initiators of World War II. They removed that world-famous photo of the Soviet Red Army raising their flag over the Reichstag. Even more absurdly, the US military even tried to rewrite the history of the Pacific War. The US Secretary of Defense publicly praised the courage of the Japanese army at Iwo Jima. Such betrayal of history, what else can it be but revisionism? As for the persecution of immigrants, everyone has also seen the recent Los Angeles riots. And as for using geopolitical conflicts to strengthen nationalism, this point is even more obvious. For a long time, Americans have always portrayed Russia and us as enemies in order to unite their people and shift contradictions. For example, Trump has repeatedly blamed America's domestic economic problems on the development of our industries, to further intensify contradictions between the two countries, and thus cover up the real problems. As for using force to plunder the wealth of other countries, this hardly needs to be mentioned. Since the collapse of the Soviet Union, the United States has launched wars against Iraq, Afghanistan, Yugoslavia, and other countries, and instigated the Russia-Ukraine conflict. In this process, the United States made huge war profits, plundering large amounts of oil, natural gas, grain, and other national wealth. And it's not only through hot wars. The United States also uses financial wars, technological wars, and trade wars to exploit countries around the world in order to achieve the goal of plundering wealth. In this process, we have always been the target of US suppression. In the 1993 Galaxy incident, the United States directly sent warships to force our cargo ship to return. In the 1996 Taiwan Strait crisis, the United States directly placed warships in the middle of the strait. In the 1999 Kosovo War, the Americans directly bombed our embassy. In the 2001 South China Sea plane crash incident, the Americans bullied us right at our doorstep. Through such means, the Americans maliciously suppressed the development of the Chinese people, preventing us from living a better life. Tell me, if this isn't racism, then what is it? Not to mention America's good ally Israel. They use DTS-style methods to strike enemies in the Middle East, causing Palestine and the Gaza region to become a no-man's land of human civilization. Tell me, how is this situation any different from Nazi Germany? And then there is America's little brother, Japan, originally a defeated country in World War II. But in recent years, they have been restless, not only establishing the so-called Joint Operations Command, but also stirring up the Diaoyu Islands issue, increasing military spending, and investing heavily in research on submarines' vertical launch systems and hypersonic missiles. They are even improving their shipbuilding capacity, trying to convert Japan's destroyers into aircraft carriers. Tell me, doesn't this resurgence of militarism count as fascism? Once you understand this, you will know why China and Russia are holding this grand parade. It is because we want to tell the whole world that fascism is rising again. Everyone must take it seriously. As for how to avoid repeating the tragedies of history, this is the second reason I want to talk about today. The second reason for the parade deterring war with war. The second reason for the parade is deterring war with war. According to the information currently revealed, this September 3rd Grand Parade is very likely to showcase a lot of cutting-edge technology, such as the J-20 fitted with WS-15 engines, the new stealth 5th generation J-35, Y-9Q, Y-9Z, Y-20 tanker, KJ-500A, and KJ-600. These pieces of equipment are certain to appear. Also, the DF-27 YJ-21 anti-ship missile and WZ-8 high-altitude high-speed reconnaissance drone may also make an appearance. More importantly, this time, the whole world knows that we are still hiding many big things, such as 2 6th-generation aircraft and the GJ-11 drone, the Type 076 amphibious assault ship, as well as a large number of skywave radars, ground wave radars, satellite radars, and surface anti-stealth fleets and other secret weapons. These things, we have already clearly demonstrated our strength. With the support of such a comprehensive equipment system, America's stealth 5th-generation fighters will gain no advantage. There was a news report before saying that the J-20 forced back America's F-35 fighter jet. Both are 5th-generation fighters. That we were able to force back the American model in itself shows that we have already begun to surpass the Americans in certain fields. And then there is the much-anticipated H-20 bomber. Now the whole world is speculating only about the exact time of its debut, not whether it will appear or not. This shows that the whole world knows that China today already possesses the ability to build its own B-2. Once the H-20 appears, China's triad of sea, land, and air nuclear strike capability will be formally established, and the United States will completely lose any possibility of containing us. Therefore, this September 3rd parade also has another very significant meaning, and that is to tell everyone in the world that the last time the anti-fascist war broke out, we Chinese paid a heavy price under fascist countries. This historical lesson we have always kept in mind. Now, after 80 years have passed, look again at the strength of our country. The Type 055, the J-20, the Jiutian drone, the robotic Wolfpack, the Sichuan amphibious assault ship, the HQ-19 anti-missile system, the YJ-21 hypersonic missile, the CH-7 drone. Each of these is a national treasure weapon. If this time there are still fascist countries that want to make a move to disrupt the world order, then we will definitely make them pay a heavy price. This is the important message that we want to send out with the 3rd of September Grand Parade.